Hey guys, and welcome back to our discussion of Miraculous Ladybug. We are now doing the second episode, which is called Bubbler. As always, the episodes are usually named after the villain of the episode, so we'll start there. What did you think of this week's villain?
I can't decide whether this one was more or less annoying than the first villain. That is definitely the weakest point of this whole damn episode, is that annoying villain. Are all the villains supposed to be annoying? Is that their real superpower, being annoying?
Well, like we said before, the reason why they're annoying is that he amplifies their negative emotions.
People have other negative emotions besides annoying.
Well, it all depends on
Annoying isn't a negative emotion. It's a negative attribute that others deem. Most people don't realize they're annoying, but most people can realize their own negative emotions.
Well, yeah, but I guess it depends on what emotion they're amplifying. Stormy Weather just wanted to be powerful to prove she's the best weather girl. But the Bubbler, he brought up the debate of rules versus freedom when it comes to adults telling kids what to do.
Don't use that to justify it because it was annoying before the villain got in control of him.
True, but that's part of his character, and he'll get better as he matures. They're still just kids. And, you know, some kids, especially around their age, they want to change adults' minds.
What age are these characters supposed to be anyway?
Maybe around 14, I think.
They don't look it. They look like they're 18 or 19. At least in Code Lyoko, they actually look their age. It's one of the few shows where people look their age.
True. I'll double check later, but yeah, I'm sure I think they're closer to 14.
Okay, that's just stupid.
Yeah. But anyway, anything else about the villain, like his powers or anything like that?
Not really. It was just annoying. I can't think of anything about the villain. All I keep thinking of is the actual villain, who's just a pathetic villain anyway.
Yeah, I keep forgetting how long it takes us to get for it to definitively show us who he is. Like, because I know who he is, it seems so obvious to me, but I forget that it's not so plainly stated yet.
Why? Is it a character we've already encountered?
Maybe?
Because I think, now that you've said that, is it the cat dude's dad?
Am I allowed to say yes or no?
Because if I just predicted it in episode 2, that's a fault of the show.
Maybe not. Maybe they're trying to make it...
No, I just pinned it on the voice. The voice is spot on.
Well, don't forget, it is aimed at kids.
I just thought of that right now, by the way, so that just proves how easy this show is.
Well, it is aimed at kids, don't forget. I think they want the kids to feel like they know who it is.
It may be aimed at kids, but you don't have to patronize them. That's another problem with this villain. No decent villain calls himself evil or describes anything they're doing as evil. A villain
Did he really? Did he?
Yes! He said evilize them.
Well, yeah, evilize them to turn them evil so that they'll do what he says. That's what he calls his power. He sends the Akuma to take control of the person, but it's not a complete mind control. It's more like make them think like me so that they'll do what I want. And it's really just a deal of, I'll give you powers, you help me get the miraculous.
Still, it's a bit too on the nose for this show. A kid's show can take itself seriously, but this just doesn't seem to be doing it.
But yeah, for this villain, I like that. I think he was a bit more threatening than Stormy Weather was, because, you know, if it weren't for that cataclysm, they would have been trapped in that bubble and they would have run out of air, and that would be it for Ladybug and Cat Noir. They would have just floated away into space, apparently.
No, they wouldn't. The bubble would, if it was any decent show with physics, the bubble would have popped due to low air pressure before they left the atmosphere. They would have fallen, and just like when they fell out of the bubble the first time, they can use whatever Deus Ex Machina they have to save them in the first place.
Oh, just you wait till we get to the actual space episode.
For some reason, that power...
I'd love to hear you break down the problems with the physics in that episode.
See, the one thing I did notice is every time she used that weird power that she used in this episode, all I kept thinking of is Conker's Bad Fur Day with the context-sensitive B button, where it just gives you a random item that's useful for that situation only.
Well, that's basically what it is. It gives her a seemingly random object, and she has to figure out how to use it.
Yes, but that's only funny in something that's actually entertaining.
I guess. I like trying to see what she ends up doing with it. She ends up doing the most random things sometimes.
Yes, but unless she gets alcohol, a frying pan, or toilet paper, it's not going to be as good.
Maybe not toilet paper. I think there was a roll of wrapping paper once.
I knew it. I was on the right track. This show is secretly Conker's Bad Fur Day.
But it's a way of showing how she thinks, because I know this is a bit of a spoiler, but there's this one episode where they swap Miraculouses accidentally, and Adrian has to be Ladybug.
Of course, that's all they needed. Give the fans a shot of her in a tight cat outfit, because that's all they needed.
Yes, she does get to be Cat Noir, and when Adrian has to be Ladybug, it shows when... So he's like, oh, I hope it gives me a sword, and she's like, it doesn't work like that. And then he uses it, and he gets something like a sword. And they explain
it's called Heart of the Cards. It's harder than whatever she calls that power. I forgot
Lucky Charm.
There you go. Well, that's
Cause
too on the nose. Create some words.
No, it's not, because ladybugs are considered lucky.
I've never heard that in my life.
Maybe it's a French thing.
Aren't ladybugs secretly deadly? Or did I hear that somewhere else too?
Maybe that's... I don't know where you heard that, but...
If that is true, why didn't they utilize it in a show?
Because it's French. I guess in France, ladybugs are considered good luck.
Doesn't have to be French, it's just biology.
Okay. Getting back to the point.
Show has a point.
Yes, it'll get there.
But this is 2 filler episodes in a row, nobody wants that.
I mean, like you've said before, filler is good to flesh out the characters.
But the characters aren't good.
Well, we're seeing the relationship between Adrian and his best friend Nino.
Yeah, this just feels like a kid's first typical high school show.
Plus, we're learning about the relationship between Adrian and his father more than we did last time.
Okay, fine. But... Now I've got to figure out who's dumb. Now I've got to figure... Okay, at least Adrian has an excuse for not knowing that his father's secretly the villain. How does his father not secretly know that he's the cat dude?
Oh, he gets suspicious once because he looks at a close-up of the ring Adrian always wears.
Why not just look at his hair? This is why you don't just wear a mask, you wear a hood. And don't worry, that's not just this show. There's a lot of superhero shows where they only wear a mask and no hood or anything else.
At least they don't do glasses like Superman and Supergirl.
Yeah, but at least they changed their hair.
I mean, he does change his hair a little.
By putting cat ears on it.
No, if you looked at it side by side, when he's Cat Noir, it gets a bit more spikier, I think. I'm not sure, you'd have to see him side by side. But anyway, when his father gets suspicious, he does something to make it look like he's in 2 places at once. So he disproves that. So now
he's got, what was that ability called? He really is just odd. Blonde hair, he can be in 2 places at once. He's a cat.
And at one point, Ladybug has to do the same thing. She has to create a sort of illusion to make it look like she's in 2 places at once. Cause the Kwamis get spotted at the high school, so they're both like, oh, well, if they were spotted at the high school, then they know, the other one knows what high school I go to. But they find ways to disprove that.
Yeah, well, don't worry, it isn't just that's the thing, even though I watch a lot of superhero shows and I love Code Lyoko, I still don't care for the whole let's create tension by having them have to not be caught. all those situations where there's a situation going on and it's, oh crap, I've got to get in my outfit. But there's people here. Every show doesn't, and it just gets annoying.
Season 1 of this is pretty bad with it. Like, if someone was actually trying to figure out their identity, they could have noticed that Marinette, as Ladybug, walked out of her family bakery. But it's just an early episode. They get better at hiding it. But also, back to what I said about the Kwamis. We didn't discuss them last time. What do you think of Tiki and Plag?
You mean those little things? The things they
Yes.
fuse with?
Yeah, I guess you could call it fusing. When they transform, it has to go into the Miraculous.
The pink one's annoying, but it also reminds me of this anime I watched as a kid that I can't for the life of me remember the goddamn name of. And it's very similar to this show. Only it came out a decade before this show, and it was actually better, I think. I only have a vague memory of my childhood.
Well, I think their purpose is to be sort of like a moral compass to help guide the person using the Miraculous. Of course, that probably makes you think, well, if Hawkmoth gets his powers from a Miraculous, he must have a Kwami too. But we haven't seen it yet.
I'd be okay with this if the show also did one of my favourite things, and when they fuse, there's still the voice in their head. Like
Firestorm.
Yeah, like Firestorm, like in Yu-Gi-Oh!, like in any show where someone fuses. If they'd done that, I would have at least enjoyed it a bit more.
Yeah, like, I've seen, like, fan comics where that happens, but it never actually happens. They just sort of disappear. And they also sort of take their powers, because it's been revealed once that the Kwamis can use, like, Lucky Charm and Cataclysm on their own, but they shouldn't, because they can't really control it.
So it just kills them.
They once made a joke about, that's how the dinosaurs died. Plag accidentally used Cataclysm. Yeah. So they can't control that. But what do you think of, like, the relationship between the character and their Kwami?
I don't really care for it, especially the female one. It just comes off annoying. But it just reminds me of that show, which is better, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, I think she's just trying to be a supportive friend, and, you know, Marinette doesn't really need as much help, whereas Plag tries to guide Adrian, but Plag is a bit more mischievous, so I kind of imagine it like that symbolism of the angel and devil on the shoulders. Like, Plag was literally sitting on his shoulder once. It's like the angel and devil, but without the angel. Plag was on his shoulder, telling him, it's fine, go have some fun, deal with responsibility later. And they have an interesting dynamic, and later on they do have some nice moments that show that Plag can be serious sometimes.
Right, so do you remember what rating I gave it the first episode?
No.
Because that's the only problem. I know it has to be only one better than the first episode. I'm going to say 4, because I'm pretty sure I would have given it a below average. So it's either, I'm probably going for a 4, maybe a 5, but that's too generous. 4, because the friggin' villain, not the main villain, but the villain was friggin' annoying. The other characters were annoying.
It kind of reminded me of the Jimmy Neutron movie, because, you know, they wished their parents away. And
Yeah, they did that, except they didn't dwell on it long enough for anyone to really care.
Yeah, true. In Jimmy Neutron, they had all those scenes where they had a lot of fun first, and then they realised, we need our parents.
Yeah, whereas here, they panic immediately. Which I'm not sure which is actually more realistic.
Well, it's because I think they're a bit older than the kids in Jimmy Neutron, so they're smart enough to think, hey, most of us love our parents.
Well, there were younger kids in that episode too.
Yeah, and those ones just, some of them were fine, some started crying, and then there was Marinette, who obviously panicked when her mum flew away in a bubble.
Yeah, but that's because she knew what was happening.
Yeah.
That's the only problem, is they actually saw what was happening, whereas in a Jimmy Neutron movie, they didn't, at least not at first.
Yeah, they just disappeared overnight.
Well, anyway, I said 4. What's you?
I guess I'll go 5. Like, it's okay for an episode, but, you know, it being an early episode, it has its problems here and there. It can be a bit boring. Also, Max's glasses were missing in some scenes.
Well, that's okay. He's a background character that nobody knows who he is yet.
He will get in an episode centered
But he's a
around
background
him.
character that nobody knows who he is yet, so nobody's paying attention.
For now, yeah.
Exactly.
But I like that, you know, basically all of the classmates get their moment to shine at some point.
Yeah, I can understand that being good. It's like how in Code Lyoko, some of the side characters start being interesting.
Yeah, we get to see different friendships between the characters. Yeah, they get built up and we actually see them continuing in the background in other episodes. But what do you think of some of the choices they made? Like, Natalie kind of did the wrong thing when she took Marinette's name off the present and gave it to Adrian. I mean, I think she might have felt pressured by the father to do that, but...
I don't know, I think you're overanalyzing what is supposed to be just a hilarious joke at the end of a kid's show, even though it wasn't hilarious at all. It's just, oh look, oops, he didn't get the present.
I don't think it was hilarious.
I didn't say it was hilarious, I mean what it was intending to be. You gotta remember this is aimed at 3-year-olds.
I don't think it was intended to be funny. I think it was
Not
intended...
funny, more like a thing you do in a kid's show where they always do this in a kid's show at the end, where it's just a funny thing happens at the very end to offset the balance.
Not really. I think it was trying to show how Marinette did a nice thing by letting him think his father did a nice thing for him. See, I don't think the mother did that. I think the friend did that. The main character did that. Because they're like, oh, fine, let him have his thing. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying.
But not the mother. The mother's just...
There is no mother.
It's the woman at the desk.
She's just a servant or something, not more like a secretary.
Well, how were we supposed to know that?
Maybe by the fact that he calls her by her first name.
People usually call their wives by their first name.
I meant Adrian calling her by her first name.
Well, I wasn't paying attention now, was I?
Well, you were supposed to. She's clearly not a mother. She clearly works for the family.
Well, how's anyone supposed to remember that? It's a kid's show. Nobody's paying attention.
Yes, but if you think about the tropes of cartoons, people always look like their family members. Just look at Marinette and her mum.
That's true. Secretly, this
Natalie?
secretary is related to the main character. She has blue hair.
No, it's more black and it's got a red streak.
Okay, whatever. So like most kids' shows, for some reason... Okay, why do a lot of kids' shows have missing parents? How many kids do you think have missing parents? I know a lot of kids don't have parents.
It's relevant to the plot, though.
Yes, I know it's relevant, but every friggin' show does it. And cut, and movie, and everything.
Not really. It's just that one character who has...
Oh, really? Where's Andy's dad in Toy Story?
The guy who wrote it or something actually later on came out and explained the story. I know that story.
Okay, whatever. Every freaking movie and TV show has a missing parent.
Plus, back when they made Toy Story, they used the excuse of humans were difficult to animate.
Yes, but they could have at least had a mention. I'm legitimately thinking of a kids' TV show where every kid has both parents in the picture. And the other one I could think of, I was about to say Code Lyoko, but even Ailita's missing her mother. But at least we know what happened.
Yeah, exactly. We know what happened, but we didn't at the start of the show, and it's just like this.
But, to be fair, we also didn't know Ailita had parents at the start of her show. We didn't even know Ailita was a human.
Yeah, well, pretty soon, well, I'm not sure when, but at some point we will get a mention of Adrian's mother. I think he believes that she's just dead, but that might not be exactly the case.
Okay, well, we gave our ratings like 5 minutes ago. I gave it like a 4. Because I'm
Yeah.
feeling generous. Maybe a 5, but it's probably a 4.
Yeah, I'll give it a 5. It's not that great. It's okay. I wouldn't re-watch it just for fun, though, because...
There are people who watch this for fun?
Yes. My point is, most of season 1 is not that interesting. I'll just say that.
Well, if you're going to be not interesting, at least have the characters be interesting. That's how Code Lyoko survives the first season.
I think they are.
Alright, if you say so.
Well, we'll see what we get next time.